The suitcase hits the porch with a crack that echoes through the quiet suburban street. It's 2:47 p.m. on a Thursday in October, and I'm standing in the doorway of my son's house, my late son's house, watching my clothes spill across the welcome mat. A navy blue tie I wore to his funeral this morning catches the afternoon sun. My daughter-in-law, Jessica, stands in the door frame, her black dress still perfect, her eyes red-rimmed but dry now. "You need to leave," she says. Her voice is steady, too steady for someone who buried her husband 6 hours ago. I don't move. Behind her in the living room, I can see the casserole dishes from neighbors stacked on the coffee table. The air smells like lilies and lasagna, the smell of death and sympathy. "Jessica, we need to talk about—" "There's nothing to talk about." She crosses her arms. "Michael wouldn't have wanted you here. You know that." I do know something. Something she doesn't realize I know yet. 3 weeks ago, my son called me at 11:43 p.m. His voice shook when he said, "Dad, if anything happens to me, there's a phone. Hidden. Behind the—" The line went dead. I found that phone yesterday. If you've ever felt that moment when your whole world shifts, when you realize the person crying at a funeral might be the reason for the funeral, then you'll understand what happened next. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning, and I promise you, by the end, you'll see why that suitcase on the porch was just the opening move. My name is Edgar Hemsworth. For 32 years, I investigated insurance fraud for Pacific Trust Insurance. When you spend 3 decades learning how people lie about money, you develop an eye for patterns, forged signatures, timeline inconsistencies, the way someone's story changes by the third telling. I retired 2 years ago, but some instincts never sleep. The morning after Michael's death, before the funeral home even called, I was already making a list. Not a grief list, a case list. In my kitchen, coffee going cold in my hand, I wrote, "Cause of death, sudden cardiac event, age 34, no history. Life insurance, $800,000 policy, purchased 8 months ago. Beneficiary, Jessica Hemsworth, married 3 years. Timeline concerns, 3 ER visits in 4 months. Why didn't I know?" Then I picked up my phone and called Gregory Tan, the best defense attorney I'd ever worked with. We'd collaborated on a dozen fraud cases. He answered on the second ring. "Greg, I need representation. Not for me, for a victim who can't speak anymore." There was a pause. "Edgar, are we talking about Michael?" "Yes, and I need you to keep this completely confidential until I have evidence." "Can you do that?" "What kind of evidence are we talking about?" I looked at the hidden phone on my kitchen counter, the one I'd found behind the loose panel in Michael's garage, exactly where his interrupted phone call had been leading me. The kind that puts someone away for murder. "I need you to understand who my son was, because Jessica's going to try to paint a different picture. Michael was a high school biology teacher. Tuesday and Thursday nights, he stayed late to tutor students who struggled with chemistry. He coached junior varsity baseball in spring. On Sundays, he called me to talk about the Giants game, and half the time, we'd end up discussing his students. Instead, which kid finally understood photosynthesis, whose college application he was helping with? He wasn't perfect. He could be stubborn. He forgot birthdays. But he was kind, fundamentally, genuinely kind. Jessica, he met at a hospital fundraiser 3.5 years ago. She worked in pharmaceutical sales. Polished, confident, always knew exactly what to say. They married fast. Too fast, I thought at the time, but Michael looked happy, so I kept quiet. I kept quiet about a lot of things. 6 months before he died, Michael started losing weight. Not the good kind. The kind where your cheekbones sharpen and your eyes sink. "Just stress," he said when I asked. "New curriculum, budget cuts at school." But in March, he mentioned stomach issues. In May, chest pains. In July, an ER visit for heart palpitations, discharged with anxiety medication. I'm his father. I should have pushed harder. That failure sits in my chest like a stone. The last time I saw Michael alive was September 22nd. I drove up to have dinner with him. Jessica said she wanted to work on family relationships. The house smelled like roasted chicken. Classical music played softly. Everything looked perfect, except Michael's hands shook when he poured water. You okay, son? Fine, Dad. Just tired? But when Jessica went to the kitchen, he leaned close. His breath smelled bitter, medicinal. I need to tell you something, he whispered, about the... Dinner's ready. Jessica's voice, bright and sharp, cut through the dining room. Michael sat back. The moment passed. Then came that phone call. September 29th, 11:43 p.m. I was already asleep when my phone lit up. Dad, his voice cracked. Dad, if anything happens to me, there's a phone, hidden, behind the water heater in the garage. The passcode is Mom's birthday. You need to... Static. Michael? Michael! Deadline. I called back 17 times. No answer. I threw on clothes, got in my car, 40-minute drive to their house. But when I arrived at 12:30 a.m., every light was off. Jessica's car was in the driveway. Michael's car was in the driveway. I knocked. No answer. I called Michael's cell. From inside the house, I heard it ring. Then stop. Someone declined the call. I stood on that porch for 20 minutes, my heart hammering, before finally driving home. I told myself I was overreacting. He'd call in the morning to explain. He never got the chance. Jessica called me at 6:17 a.m. on October 1st. Edgar, there's been... Michael didn't wake up. The paramedics just left. They said... Her voice broke convincingly. They said his heart just stopped. 34 years old, no prior heart condition, perfect blood pressure at his last physical. His heart just stopped. October 2nd, the day of the funeral. While Jessica greeted mourners at the church, I drove to their house. I had a key. Michael gave it to me when they bought the place. In case of emergencies, Dad. This was an emergency. The garage still smelled like motor oil and cut grass. The water heater stood in the back corner, humming quietly. Behind it, exactly where Michael said, a loose panel. My fingers found the edge, pulled, a Ziploc book bag. Inside, a Samsung Galaxy, powered off. I slipped it into my jacket pocket and left. At home, hands shaking, I entered the passcode, 0815. My late wife's birthday, August 15th. The phone unlocked. 17 voice memos, 43 photographs, 112 text messages, all dated between February and September. The first voice memo, dated February 14th, Valentine's Day. I don't know if I'm being paranoid. Jessica's been different. Last night she insisted I take my vitamins, these new supplements she got from work. When I said I'd already taken them, she got angry, really angry. I found the bottle later. The label was partially peeled off. I'm going to document this, just in case. His voice sounded strong then, healthy. By August it had changed. Can't keep food down. 4th time this week. Jessica makes dinner every night now, won't let me cook or order takeout. Says she wants to take care of me. But I feel worse after every meal. I've been pretending to eat, then throwing it away when she's not looking. Dad, if you're listening to this, I think she's... The recording cut off. I sat in my dark kitchen, that phone in my hands, and felt something cold settle into my bones. Not rage yet, something colder. Purpose. I've worked with evidence my entire career. I know how cases fall apart. Contaminated chains of custody, improperly stored data, accusations of tampering. So I did it right. October 2nd, 9:43 p.m. I drove to an office supply store and purchased 3 USB flash drives, 32 GB each, 1 external hard drive, 2 TB, 1 small fireproof safe, documentation notebook with numbered pages. At home, I created a systematic backup. USB drive, 1, complete phone contents, stored in fireproof safe. USB drive, 2, complete phone contents, stored in bank safety deposit box, documented with timestamp. USB drive, 3, complete phone contents, given to Gregory Tan with documented receipt. External hard drive, working copy, encrypted. Cloud backup, uploaded to secure server, through Greg's law office. I photographed every step, timestamped every action, wrote everything in the notebook. October 2nd, 2024, 10:15 p.m. Downloaded all voice memos, 17 files. File sizes, 1.2 MB to 45 MB. Original files remain unaltered on device. Hash verification completed for all copies. Then I carefully examined what Michael had documented. The photos showed pill bottles, vitamin containers, supplement packages. But Michael had been smart. He'd photographed the labels before and after Jessica suggested he take them. In the before photos, standard multivitamins, recognizable brands. In the after photos, the same bottles, but the pills inside looked different, slightly larger, different color under flash photography. One photo, dated July 3rd, showed a pill broken in half. Michael had written in the image notes, powder inside, bitter taste. This isn't a vitamin. Jay says it's new formula, called Poison Control anonymously. They said to bring it in. Too scared. She'll know. The text messages were worse. Texts between Jessica and an unsaved number. July 18th, 11:34 p.m. Jessica. He's getting suspicious. Unknown. Then we need to slow down, Jessica. We can't afford slow. The policy doesn't pay out if we separate. Unknown. 3 more months. That's all I'm saying. Jessica. 3 months and I'll be free. I read that exchange 17 times. Each time my hands clenched tighter. October 3rd. I called my former colleague at Pacific Trust, Linda Morrison. We'd worked together for 15 years. I trusted her absolutely. Linda, I need you to pull a policy. Quietly. Edgar, you're retired. I can't just... It's my son's life insurance policy, and I think his widow is about to file a claim for murder. Silence. Then, give me the policy number. 20 minutes later, she called back. Edgar, this policy, it's unusual. $800,000 payout, issued 11 months ago through a broker I've never heard of. Westside Insurance Partners. The broker fees were abnormally high, and there's a double indemnity clause for accidental death. What about spousal policies? Jessica Hemsworth has a policy too, $200,000 issued the same day. But here's the thing. The medical questionnaire for Michael's policy has discrepancies. He reported perfect health, but we have ER records from previous insurers showing those heart palpitation visits. If that questionnaire was falsified, the policy's void, I finished. Yes, but Edgar, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, you need law enforcement, not just insurance investigation. I need evidence first. Real, undeniable evidence. Can you flag the policy? Delay any payout claims? I can flag it for routine review. That'll buy you maybe 3 weeks before she can push through a claim. After that, I can't help you without cause. 3 weeks. Gregory's law office was downtown, 14th floor, windows overlooking the bay. When I arrived October 4th, he had documents spread across his conference table. Edgar, I've been digging. The timeline is damning. He pointed to a printout. Michael and Jessica's joint checking account. Look at these transactions. I leaned over. January 15th, $800. Westside Insurance Partners. January 28th, $3,500. Cash withdrawal. March 3rd, $12,000. Transfer to Jessica's personal account. Memo. Furniture. March 3rd, $11,800. Cash withdrawal from Jessica's personal account. July 22nd, $15,000. Transfer to Jessica's personal account. Memo. Renovation. July 23rd, $14,500. Cash withdrawal from Jessica's personal account. She's moving money out, I said. Large amounts converting to cash. That's not all. Gregory pulled up another document. I checked property records. Your son's house, they bought it 3 years ago, joint ownership. But 8 months ago, Jessica had Michael sign a quitclaim deed. What does that mean? It means Michael signed over his ownership interest to her. The house is now solely in Jessica's name. My mouth went dry. Why would he do that? According to the notary record, he was told it was for estate planning purposes. But Edgar, combined with the insurance policy timing, she was positioning assets. If he died, she'd get the house free and clear, plus $800,000 in life insurance, nearly $1 million. And Michael wouldn't have inherited anything if she died first. Exactly. I thought about those text messages. 3 months and I'll be free. Greg, we need to find out who she was texting. October 5th, Gregory hired a forensic investigator, Marcus Webb, former FBI cybercrimes. We met in Greg's office, Michael's hidden phone on the table between us. Marcus examined it carefully, then connected it to his laptop. The number Jessica was texting, it's a prepaid burner, purchased with cash at a convenience store in Berkeley. No registered owner, but his fingers flew across the keyboard. Cell tower triangulation puts this phone at the same location as Jessica's phone multiple times. Here, February 10th, both phones pinged towers near the Four Seasons Hotel in San Francisco for 4 hours. March 18th, both phones at a residence in Oakland for 6 hours. The pattern continues through September. You're telling me they were meeting in person? Regularly. Marcus pulled up more data. I also recovered deleted photos from Michael's phone. He was documenting more than I initially saw. Look at this. He showed me a photo, slightly blurry, taken from inside a car. Jessica, walking into a restaurant with a man. Tall, dark hair, wearing a white coat. The photo's metadata showed August 8th, 2024, 6:47 p.m. Michael was following her, I said quietly. There's more. Marcus swiped to the next photo. Jessica and the same man, sitting at an outdoor table. She was laughing. His hand covered hers. Can you identify him? Already on it. I enhanced the image, ran facial recognition. Meet Dr. Ryan Castellano, licensed pharmacist, works at MedPro Pharmacy on Telegraph Avenue. Age 38, divorced, no criminal record. A pharmacist, access to medications, knowledge of drugs, ability to acquire substances without suspicion. The pieces were fitting together. October 7th through October 13th, I became a shadow. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I won't apologize for it either. My son was dead. His wife was living in his house, sleeping in his bed, probably already planning how to spend his insurance money. So I watched. I parked down the street from their house, from her house now, in a different rental car each day. I wore a baseball cap and sunglasses. I looked like every other middle-aged man trying to recapture youth. Day 1. Jessica left at 8:15 a.m., Starbucks cup in hand, tailored black pants and cream blouse. She looked like someone going to work. But she didn't go to her pharmaceutical office. She drove to MedPro Pharmacy. She stayed 45 minutes. When she came out, Dr. Ryan Castellano walked her to her car. They stood close, too close for colleagues. He touched her waist. She smiled up at him. I photographed everything. Timestamp, October 7, 2024, 9:02 a.m. Day 3. They met for lunch at a Vietnamese restaurant in Rockridge, sat in a back booth, leaned across the table toward each other. When the waitress came, Jessica laughed at something he said and touched his arm. I sat 3 booths away, menu hiding my face, camera recording video on my phone. Day 5. Ryan Castellano drove to Jessica's house at 10:37 p.m. His car, a silver Honda Accord, license plate 7VRJ293, parked in the driveway. The lights went off downstairs. A bedroom light came on upstairs. He didn't leave until 2:43 a.m. I photographed his arrival, his car in the driveway, the bedroom light, his departure, 5 days after her husband's funeral, and she was already moving on. Or maybe it had never ended. October 15th, I received a call from the county medical examiner's office. Mr. Hemsworth, this is Patricia Huang. I'm the medical examiner who performed your son's autopsy. I have some questions I'd like to ask you. My pulse quickened. Of course. Did your son have any history of heart disease? Any family history we should know about? No, none. His last physical showed perfect health. That's what concerned me. Papers rustled on her end. Mr. Hemsworth, your son's heart showed signs of chronic stress, scarring, inflammation, but there was no arterial blockage, no congenital defect. For a 34-year-old with no risk factors to suffer to sudden cardiac death, it's unusual. What are you saying? I'm saying I've ordered additional toxicology screens. The standard panel came back clean, but given the medical history, 3 ER visits in 4 months, all with cardiac symptoms, I want to test for substances that wouldn't show up in routine screening. What kind of substances? A pause. Cardiac glycosides, certain plant-based toxins, substances that can cause heart failure if administered over time in small doses. Mr. Hemsworth, did your son mention anything unusual? Any symptoms that seem strange? I thought about the voice memos. Can't keep food down. Jessica makes dinner every night now. Doctor, I have information you need to see. Can we meet? October 16th, Dr. Huang's office. Fluorescent lights humming. The smell of disinfectant and old coffee. I gave her copies of everything. The voice memos, the photos of pills, the text messages, the surveillance photos. I kept the originals secured, chain of custody documented. She listened to Michael's voice recordings, her face growing more drawn with each one. When the last memo finished, she sat back. Mr. Hemsworth, this changes everything. I'm referring this case to the police. This is now a potential homicide investigation. How long for the additional toxicology? 2 to 3 weeks. But I'm also going to request an exhumation order if needed. We can test hair and tissue samples for long-term poisoning. Some substances accumulate in the body. She looked at me directly. You understand what this means? If we find what I think we're going to find, your daughter-in-law will be arrested. I understand. This will be public. This will be ugly. Are you prepared for that? I thought about Michael's voice on those recordings. The fear, the confusion, the way he said dad, if you're listening to this. I'm prepared, but I wasn't prepared. Not really. October 18th, Jessica gave an interview to the local newspaper. The headline, Young Widow Seeks Support After Husband's Tragic Death. The article painted a picture of a devoted wife, devastated by loss, struggling to understand why her healthy young husband suddenly died. It mentioned his teaching career, his students' grief, the scholarship fund Jessica was establishing in his name. It didn't mention the hidden phone, the text messages, the life insurance policy. The community rallied around her. My neighbor, Helen, stopped me in the driveway. October 19th. Edgar, I saw that article about Jessica. That poor girl. Are you checking in on her? She must be so alone. Helen, things aren't what they seem. What do you mean? I mean, I can't say yet, but trust me when I tell you. Edgar, Helen's expression shifted to concern. Grief can make us think terrible things. I remember when David died, I was so angry, I blamed everyone. But Jessica loved Michael. Anyone could see that. I stopped trying to explain. On October 21st, someone vandalized my car, keyed down the passenger side. Leave her alone. I reported it. The police took a statement, filed it under neighborhood dispute. October 23rd, 9:47 p.m. My landline rang. I picked up. Hello? Heavy breathing. Then a voice, male, unfamiliar. Stop digging, old man. You don't know what you're playing with. Who is this? Someone who knows you've been asking questions. Someone who knows you've been following people. Back off, or you'll regret it. Click. I immediately called Gregory. He contacted the police, filed a report, had them trace the call. Another burner phone purchased with cash. Edgar, you need to be careful, Gregory said. If they're threatening you, it means you're getting close to something they don't want exposed. I'm not stopping. I'm not asking you to stop. I'm asking you to be smart. Vary your routine. Check your car before you drive. Don't go anywhere alone at night. I thought he was being paranoid. October 25th, I found my front window shattered. A brick in my living room wrapped with a note. Final warning. I installed cameras, changed my locks, started carrying pepper spray, and I kept investigating. November 1st, I decided it was time. I called Jessica. We need to talk. Edgar, I don't think that's a good idea. You've been harassing me. I have evidence. Evidence of what you did to Michael. Meet me tomorrow at 2 p.m. at Riverside Park, or I'm going to the police tonight. Silence. Fine. 2 p.m. I wasn't stupid. I told Gregory. I told Marcus. I wore a wire. I brought copies of the most damning evidence in a folder. Jessica arrived 10 minutes late, wearing designer sunglasses and a leather jacket. She looked annoyed, not nervous. We sat at a picnic table. Afternoon sun filtered through oak trees. Families played nearby. The sound of children laughing felt obscene. I opened the folder. slid a photo across the table. Jessica and Ryan Castellano at the restaurant. Tell me about your boyfriend. She barely glanced at it. That's Ryan. We're friends. This doesn't prove anything. I slid another photo, the text messages, printed out. 3 months, and I'll be free. Her jaw tightened. You went through my phone? Michael's phone. The one he hid from you. The one where he documented everything. Now I had her attention. I don't know what you think you found. I found 17 voice recordings of my son saying you were poisoning him. I found photos of the pills you switched. I found text messages between you and your pharmacist lover planning his death. I found financial records showing you systematically moved assets into your name and set up a life insurance policy that makes you rich if he dies. I leaned forward. And the medical examiner is currently running toxicology tests that are going to prove Michael was poisoned. You have one chance, Jessica. One chance to tell me why. To show 1 ounce of remorse. Otherwise, I'm handing everything to the district attorney tomorrow, and you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. She stared at me. Then, incredibly, she smiled. You can't prove any of that. Michael was stressed. He was paranoid. His psychiatrist will testify to that. Those voice memos? A mentally ill man's delusions. The text messages? Taken out of context. The photos? Circumstantial. And the insurance policy? Smart estate planning. The toxicology won't show anything, because I didn't do anything wrong. She stood up. Michael died of a heart attack, natural causes. And you know what? If you keep harassing me, I'll file a restraining order. I'll sue you for defamation. I'll make sure everyone knows you're a bitter old man who can't accept his son's death. She leaned down close enough that I could smell her perfume. You have nothing, Edgar, and you're going to walk away now, or I'll destroy you. She left. I sat at that picnic table, hands shaking, and listened to the recording I'd just captured. Every word, every admission that she knew about Michael's accusations, every threat. It wasn't a confession, but it was something. November 3rd, 2:15 p.m. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Hemsworth? This is Ryan Castellano. I nearly dropped the phone. Don't hang up. Please, I need to talk to you. Why would I talk to you? His voice shook. Because I think I helped kill your son, and I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know. 15 minutes later, we met in a coffee shop parking lot in Berkeley. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, hands trembling as he gripped his steering wheel. I got in his passenger seat. Talk. Jessica told me. She said Michael was abusive. She said he controlled her money, isolated her from friends, threatened her. She showed me bruises. She cried. He rubbed his face. I believed her. I wanted to save her. So you helped her kill him? No, I gave her medications. She said they were for her anxiety. Anti-anxiety medications, sleep aids, some herbal supplements. She said her doctor wouldn't prescribe enough. I thought I was helping someone escape an abusive marriage. What medication specifically? He pulled out his phone, showed me a list. These, over 8 months. Always in small amounts so it wouldn't trigger pharmacy alerts. I photographed the list with my phone. Recognized some names from Michael's research. Did any of these interact with each other? Could they cause heart problems? Not individually, but combined over time with certain other substances. He stopped. Mr. Hemsworth, 3 days ago, Jessica asked me for digitalis. My blood went cold. Digitalis, a cardiac glycoside, derived from foxglove plants. In small therapeutic doses, it treats heart conditions. In larger doses, or accumulated over time, it causes heart failure. Did you give it to her? No, I refused. That's when I started questioning everything. I looked up the symptoms of digitalis poisoning, nausea, vomiting, confusion, heart arrhythmia. Michael had all of those. The ER visits, they matched the timeline of when I was giving Jessica medications. He looked at me, tears in his eyes. She used me. She made me think I was helping her escape, but I was helping her murder him. Why are you telling me this now? Because yesterday she asked me to marry her, said we could finally be together now that Michael was gone. And when I hesitated, when I said I needed time, she threatened me. Said if I ever told anyone about the medications, she'd say I was the one who wanted Michael dead. That I stalked her, forced her, coerced her. She has text messages, she said. Evidence that would make me look like the jealous lover who killed her husband to have her. He was shaking now. I'm a pharmacist. I could lose my license. Go to prison. I have a daughter, Mr. Hemsworth. She's 9 years old. I can't lose her. I studied him, saw genuine terror, genuine remorse. Will you testify? Officially? If you can protect me, if you can guarantee she won't destroy me. I can't guarantee anything, but I can promise that if you help me put her away, my lawyer will negotiate immunity for you, testify against her, provide the medication records, and you'll probably keep your license, avoid prison time. He wiped his eyes. Okay, yes, I'll testify. November 5th through November 12th was a blur of activity. Ryan Castellano provided pharmacy records, every medication he'd supplied Jessica, with dates and dosages. Gregory immediately took him to the district attorney's office. Ryan gave a full statement, 4 hours, recorded and transcribed. The DA, Margaret Foster, was a sharp woman in her 50s who'd built her career on complex prosecutions. She listened to everything. The voice memos, reviewed the photos, read the text messages, examined the financial records, studied the surveillance images. November 8th, Dr. Huang called with toxicology results. Mr. Hemsworth, we found it. Digitalis compounds in your son's system, levels that indicate long-term exposure. We also found traces of other substances that, combined with the digitalis, would absolutely cause cardiac stress and eventual failure. Is this enough for murder charges? Combined with everything else you provided? Yes, I'm officially ruling Michael's death a homicide. November 10th, the DA filed charges. First-degree murder, fraud, conspiracy. November 12th at 6 a.m. Police arrested Jessica Hemsworth. I watched from my car as officers walked her out in handcuffs. She looked shocked, genuinely shocked, like she couldn't believe this was actually happening. She saw me. Our eyes met. I didn't look away. The trial began January 15th. 3 months of preparation. Every piece of evidence cataloged, verified, authenticated. Every witness prepped, every timeline confirmed. I sat in the courtroom every single day. Front row, behind the prosecution table. Jessica's lawyer, Martin Krause, was expensive and aggressive. His opening statement painted Jessica as a victim, a woman trapped in a marriage with a mentally unstable man who'd grown paranoid, who'd documented false accusations, who'd tried to frame his loving wife before his tragic death. The prosecution wants you to believe a conspiracy theory, Krause told the jury. They want you to believe that Jessica Hemsworth, a successful professional woman with no criminal history, no history of violence, somehow masterminded an elaborate murder plot. But where's the evidence? Voice memos from a man suffering from anxiety and paranoia? Text messages taken wildly out of context? A relationship with a colleague that proves nothing? He was good. I'll give him that. But Margaret Foster was better. Her opening statement was quiet, methodical. She walked the jury through the timeline, showed them the life insurance policy, the property transfer, the financial moves, the medication records from Ryan Castellano, the toxicology report. Jessica Hemsworth spent 8 months slowly poisoning her husband, Margaret said. She used her pharmaceutical industry knowledge to obtain medications. She exploited the trust of Ryan Castellano, a pharmacist who thought he was helping her escape abuse. She isolated Michael, made him doubt his own perceptions, and when he started to realize what was happening, she escalated. Margaret showed the jury a photo of Michael, smiling, healthy, from 2 years ago. Then a photo from August, weeks before he died. The difference was shocking. Gaunt, gray, haunted. This is what 8 months of poisoning looks like, and Jessica Hemsworth did this for money. $800,000 in life insurance, a house, freedom to be with her lover. That's what Michael Hemsworth's life was worth to her. The prosecution's case took 3 weeks, Dr. Hosseud. Huang testified about the toxicology findings, explaining in careful detail how digitalis poisoning mimics heart attack, how long-term exposure causes cumulative damage. Marcus Webb testified about the digital evidence, The deleted text messages, the cell tower data proving Jessica and Ryan's meetings, the metadata on Michael's photos. Linda Morrison testified about the insurance policy, the unusual broker, the timing that coincided with Jessica's request to Ryan for medications, and then Ryan Castellano took the stand. He looked like he'd aged 10 years, spoke quietly, looking down at his hands as he described how Jessica had manipulated him, shown him fake bruises, told him stories about Michael's abuse. She was very convincing, he said. She knew exactly what to say, and I wanted to believe her. I wanted to be the hero who saved her. Jessica's lawyer tore into him, called him a scorned lover, suggested he was the real mastermind trying to frame Jessica. But Ryan held firm. I loved her, he admitted, and she used that love to turn me into an accomplice. I'll have to live with that forever, but I won't let her get away with murder. The courtroom was silent. Then came the voice memos. Margaret played them, one by one. Michael's voice, growing weaker with each recording, documenting his suspicions, his symptoms, his fear. The jury listened. Some wiped their eyes. One woman covered her mouth. The final recording, September 25th, 4 days before Michael's death. I don't have much time. I can feel it. My heart races all the time now. My hands won't stop shaking. Jessica brought me soup tonight, said it would help. I poured it in the sink when she wasn't looking. Dad, I need you to know, if I die, it wasn't natural. It wasn't an accident. And I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I'm sorry I was too scared. I love you. Tell Mom I love her too. I couldn't stop my tears. Didn't try to. Jessica sat at the defense table, expressionless. The defense's case lasted 1 week. They brought character witnesses, Jessica's colleagues, friends, her parents. All testified she was kind, professional, loving. None of them knew about Ryan. None of them knew about the plot. They brought a psychiatrist who testified that Michael showed signs of paranoia, anxiety, possible delusional disorder. And then Jessica took the stand. She wore a conservative gray dress, spoke softly, cried at appropriate moments. She testified that Michael had been increasingly paranoid, that his mental health had deteriorated, that she'd begged him to seek help. She said the voice memos were proof of his illness, not proof of poisoning. The text messages with Ryan, taken out of context, they were talking about her leaving the marriage emotionally, not killing Michael. I loved my husband, she said, tears streaming down her face. I would never hurt him. Then Margaret Foster stood for cross-examination. Mrs. Hemsworth, you testified you loved your husband. Is that correct? Yes. Then why, 5 days after his funeral, was Ryan Castellano in your home until 2:43 in the morning? Jessica's composure cracked. He was comforting me. Comforting you? Margaret pulled up a photo on the courtroom screen. Jessica and Ryan, kissing taken by me during surveillance. Does this look like comfort? You don't understand? Help me understand. Help this jury understand. You testified that your relationship with Ryan Castellano was purely professional until after Michael's death. But we have cell tower records showing you met him regularly for 8 months before Michael died. We have hotel receipts, restaurant receipts, a witness who saw you together in February, 3 months before Michael's first ER visit. Were you lying then, Mrs. Hemsworth? Or are you lying now? We were friends. And these friends meetings, did you discuss medications with him? He's a pharmacist. Sometimes Did you tell him Michael was abusive? Yes, because he was... Show us one police report, one hospital record, one witness who saw Michael abuse you. Silence. There aren't any, are there? Because Michael never abused you. You made that up to manipulate Ryan Castellano into giving you the medications you needed to poison your husband. No, Margaret showed another document on the screen. This is a life insurance application dated January 12th, 11 months before Michael's death. The signature here, is that your husband's signature? Jessica squinted at it. Yes, I think so. You think so? You were there when he signed it, weren't you? Yes? And did you explain to him that this policy included double indemnity for accidental death? That it made you the sole beneficiary of $800,000? It was standard estate planning. Did you explain to him that 3 days earlier you'd filed a quitclaim deed, transferring his ownership of your house solely to your name? Our lawyer recommended. Which lawyer? Give me their name, Jessica faltered. I don't remember. You don't remember the name of the lawyer who handled what you're calling essential estate planning? Or is it because there was no lawyer? Because you forged Michael's signature on that quitclaim deed? I didn't forge anything. Then why does the handwriting analysis we commissioned show a 78% probability that you signed your husband's name on that document? The courtroom erupted. The judge called for order. Jessica was shaking now, composure completely shattered. Margaret pressed on. Mrs. Hemsworth, where were you on September 29th at 11:43 p.m.? Home, in bed. Are you certain? Yes. Because that's when Michael called his father. That's when he tried to tell his father about the hidden phone, and the call was disconnected. Did you disconnect that call, Mrs. Hemsworth? No, I was asleep. Then how do you explain that 2 minutes after Michael's call was disconnected, his phone, the phone he was calling from, received an incoming call from your phone? A call that lasted 6 seconds before being declined. If you were asleep, who made that call? Jessica's mouth opened, closed. No sound came out. No further questions. Closing arguments took 1 day. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they filed back in, I held my breath. On the charge of first-degree murder, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of conspiracy, we find the defendant guilty. Jessica collapsed. Her parents, sitting behind her, sobbed. Her lawyer put his hand on her shoulder. I sat very still, felt nothing, then everything. Michael's justice. Finally. March 2nd, sentencing hearing. The judge asked if I wanted to make a victim impact statement. I'd prepared something, practiced it a dozen times. But when I stood at that podium, looking at Jessica in her orange jumpsuit, everything I'd planned to say disappeared. Instead, I said this. My son was afraid. For months, he was terrified in his own home. He documented his fear because he thought no one would believe him. He was right. No one did, not until it was too late. Jessica, you didn't just take Michael's life. You took his trust, his safety, his ability to feel secure in the one place he should have been protected. You made him doubt himself. You isolated him. You made his final months on Earth a nightmare. My voice broke. But here's what you didn't take. You didn't take his love. You didn't take his legacy. His students still remember him. His friends still honor him. And his father made sure you didn't get away with it. I looked directly at her. Michael was smarter than you thought, braver than you knew, and he made sure that even from the grave, the truth would come out. I sat down. The judge sentenced Jessica Hemsworth to life in prison without possibility of parole. The case made headlines. National news. Wife poisons husband with pharmacist lover's help. Ryan Castellano pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter and illegal distribution of medications. Got 7 years, eligible for parole in 4. Lost his pharmacy license. He sent me a letter from prison. Mr. Hemsworth, I know no apology can bring Michael back. I know I facilitated his murder, even though I didn't intend to. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to atone for that. If there's anything I can ever do to help honor his memory, please let me know. I never responded. My neighbor Helen came to my house one evening, 3 weeks after the sentencing, holding a casserole. Edgar, I owe you an apology. I should have listened to you. I should have trusted that you knew something was wrong. You didn't know, Helen. None of us really knew. But you did. And we dismissed you. The whole neighborhood dismissed you. We thought you were a bitter old man, and you were actually saving everyone from believing a murderer's lies. She wasn't the only one. I got letters, emails, messages from people who'd supported Jessica, who'd donated to her fake scholarship fund, who'd believed her performance. The community had to reckon with how easily they'd been fooled. The first few months after the trial, I didn't know what to do with myself. My purpose had been the investigation, the case, justice for Michael. Now that it was done, I felt hollow. Gregory suggested therapy. I resisted at first. I'm 67 years old. I've never needed therapy before, but eventually I went. Dr. Sarah Kim's office smelled like lavender. She had kind eyes and a quiet voice. Edgar, you've been in crisis mode for 6 months. Your nervous system has been in fight or flight that entire time. Now that the threat is over, your body doesn't know how to rest. I don't want to rest. Resting means thinking. Thinking means remembering. Remembering is part of healing. We worked through it, slowly. The guilt, that I didn't see the signs sooner. The anger, at Jessica, at myself, at a system that almost let her get away with it. The grief, not just for Michael's death, but for the life he should have had. In May, Michael's school held a memorial service. They planted a tree in front of the science building, a plaque, in memory of Michael Hemsworth, teacher, coach, friend. The best teachers teach from the heart, not from the book. His former students spoke. A girl named Sophia, now a senior, cried as she talked about how Michael stayed late to help her understand chemistry, how he believed in her when no one else did, how she'd been accepted to UC Berkeley to study biology because of him. Mr. Hemsworth changed my life, she said, and he didn't even know it. That's the kind of person he was. I stood under that tree afterward, touching the bark, and felt something loosen in my chest. Michael wasn't just a victim, he was a person, a beloved person, and that would outlast everything Jessica had done. October 1st, 1 year since Michael died, I drove to the cemetery, brought flowers, yellow roses, his favorite. The headstone was simple. Michael James Hemsworth, beloved son, teacher, friend, forever 34. I sat on the grass beside his grave and talked to him like I used to when he'd call on Sunday afternoons. Hey kiddo, big year, huh? We got her. I know you knew we would. That's why you left the trail. Smart kid, always were. The wind rustled through the cemetery trees. I'm okay, most days. Some days are harder, but I'm okay. And your students are okay. They remember you. They're going to keep remembering you. I traced his name on the headstone. I wish you'd told me sooner. I wish you'd felt safe enough to tell me when it started. But I understand why you didn't. You were scared. You were trying to handle it yourself. And when you couldn't, you made sure someone could finish what you started. I stood up, brushed grass off my jeans. I'm proud of you, Michael. I'm so damn proud of you. If you're listening to this story and something resonates, if you recognize these patterns in your own life or someone you love, I need you to hear this. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Document everything, dates, times, incidents. Take photos, save messages, keep records, tell someone, tell multiple people. Don't try to handle it alone. And if you're being abused, emotionally, physically, financially, there are resources. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233. They can help. They can connect you with support, with safety plans, with people who believe you. Michael tried to handle it alone until it was almost too late. Don't make that mistake. You deserve to be safe. You deserve to be believed. You deserve justice. People ask me sometimes if I regret how it all played out. If I wish I'd confronted Jessica sooner, called the police earlier, pushed harder when Michael was still alive. The truth is, yes, of course I do. I'll spend the rest of my life wishing I'd seen the signs sooner, but I can't change the past. I can only make sure the truth survived. Michael left me a puzzle, and I solved it. He left me evidence, and I preserved it. He left me a mission, and I completed it. That's all a father can do. 3 weeks ago, I received a letter from a woman in Ohio. Her name was Catherine. She'd watched the news coverage of Michael's case. Dear Mr. Hemsworth, I'm writing to thank you. 2 months ago, my husband started acting strangely. Paranoid, sick, exactly like your son. I remembered your case. I took him to the doctor. They ran toxicology tests. My husband was being poisoned by his business partner, who wanted to buy him out of their company. Because of your case, because you fought for your son, my husband is alive. You saved him. Thank you. I keep that letter on my refrigerator, because if Michael's death means someone else lives, if his story means someone else recognizes the signs, then maybe, just maybe, his life meant something beyond the 34 years he got. I go back to work next month. Not insurance fraud, I'm done with that. But I've been asked to consult on domestic violence cases, help families navigate the legal system, teach people how to document abuse. Michael would like that, I think, turning his tragedy into someone else's salvation. This is Edgar Hemsworth signing off. If this story affected you, if you have questions about domestic violence resources, or how to protect yourself or someone you love, please leave a comment below. And if you want to hear similar stories, real cases of families fighting for justice, check out our other videos. She stole my mother's identity while she lay dying, and my brother's business partner tried to frame him for fraud, until I found the security footage. Remember, you are not alone. You are believed, and there is always a path to justice. Sometimes you just have to fight harder than you ever imagined to find it. Thank you for listening.